This is my wedding story, and it's not all peaches and cream, but some of it is very sweet and delightful. It's wedding season. June brides. It's such a lovely thing. I was a June bride. Weddings are definitely special. I was not a minimalist when I got married, but our wedding totally showed our love for simplicity. I've been married for now 21 years, and I've been a minimalist for 19 years. When I got married, I was 20 years old. I live in New Jersey. It is the place where the highest cost of weddings are in the country. The average cost these days is $51,000. That's only in New Jersey. The average cost of weddings everywhere else is $31,000. And I've explained before that with minimalism in my state, it's very, very hard to be a minimalist. There are not many of us because it's very much about making a lot of money, spending all your money, making a huge house for yourself, and just very much about stuff and having all the things and the big elaborate celebrations. But 21 years ago, my wedding cost between $7,000 and $8,000. And believe it or not, in 2004, New Jersey weddings, the average cost was actually $62,000, more than it is now with inflation. With this video, I want to just bring on the idea of how you can have a simple wedding by using my own as an example, because I only go from my own experience to try to inspire or maybe tell you what maybe you shouldn't do if you learn from my own mistakes. I want to start with the rings. When I was only 17 and my husband was 18, we got what we called pre-engaged, but really it was our actual engagement. And we bought these $10 sterling silver rings. We got them at a Renaissance fair, and that's where we got engaged. I still have mine. The following year, we got officially engaged. My ring, which is a diamonique, cost $64. It's like half real and half fake, and it's pretty gaudy. This actually broke off at my job. I was stacking boxes and it broke, so I had to get it fixed. I had almost every single day guys hitting on me, married men, not married men, and I liked the fact that when I had an engagement ring, it shooed off most of the men. So because of that, my mother gave me her engagement ring from 1970. She wasn't wearing it because she wears her mother's ring. And this I usually wear every once in a while. I don't put it on often, but yeah, it's an heirloom. I didn't spend any money on it. And then when I was about to get married, I decided I need a wedding band. I got this one that actually goes very well with the size ring of my mom's. It's the same exact size, and I got it for $30 on Amazon when I was about to get married. So I wear these as a set usually, while my husband's ring was actually his father's mother's ring, I believe, so his grandmother's ring, and it was an heirloom as well. So he didn't spend any money on his ring, but he wore his pre-engagement ring for several years because it fit him better instead as a wedding band. But then it broke when he was changing my tire one year, so he went back to the old ring that he had. But now he wears his second silicone ring. So we both wear silicone rings that were $30 each. So he's on his second one because he broke one of them. So I want to make sure that there's no slave labor involved in what I wear and own. That has another reason why I'm glad I didn't go all crazy getting an actual diamond ring. And I'm actually not much of a jewelry person, so this silicone ring is great for when I work out because I sweat a lot. Wedding bands actually tend to cost about $4,000, while engagement rings on top of that are $5,200. So for all of our rings, we've only spent $174. Wedding planning. A lot of people dread doing it. I just kept pushing it off. But every once in a while, I would do a little bit here and there. For our wedding, my mom was actually really annoyed with me because I wasn't setting a date and I wasn't doing anything to save or plan. And she would often ask me, when are you going to set a date for your wedding? And when are you going to get married? And initially I was trying to save my parents' money because I know it falls on the bride's family usually to have to pay a lot of the money for a wedding. So my mom, she just set a date for us, and I actually really liked the date and it made sense. But it was an important date in our family. I was ready to just elope. And I told my mom, I said, I'm ready to just get married. And she would say, well, do you have a place to live? And I said, no. And she's like, well, I mean, you need a place to live. When I started to make a decision where we all agreed that when we got married, we would live in my parents' basement until we got our own place. When I brought up the idea of eloping, she was not happy, and she said, I want my friends and family to see you get married. It's a special day. And then when she started telling me who she wanted to go to the wedding, and my parents are both extroverts. I'm an extrovert, but my husband's an introvert. And so I was trying to just limit it. I didn't need anything crazy. I'm very simple, even then. So my mom could have easily told me 350 people, 500 people for all I know, but I know she wouldn't have gone that high because she would would think about the cost of things. But I kept saying, how about 100 people? I'll invite a little bit more to the actual ceremony, but maybe a little less than 100 people to the reception. But every time I would bring up the amount of people, she kept adding people. And she wasn't really understanding that it was my wedding. She was saying, well, I'm paying for the wedding so I could have who I want at your wedding. And I said, no, it's my wedding and I only want the people I want there. And I kept telling her who I didn't want there and why I didn't want them there. And she's like, but I want them there. So when I actually initially invited people, she started inviting extra people behind my back. And there were people there that I never even met before, and I was not happy about it. While there were also important people that I wanted there that didn't show up for other reasons. It made me want and wish, to this day, I still wish I eloped. However, my wedding was what it was. Overall, I am so thankful with the person I married, and that's what mattered to me. Now, just so you guys know, my mother and I have discussed this. I have no bitterness towards my mother. I'm stating the facts of the events that took place. I was very, very young, and I wish that I put my foot down a little bit more and said no. But when I did that, my dad told me I was being a bridezilla, when really, I was just stopping myself from being controlled. I was really, really thankful that they were okay with me getting married young, but that also was because there were so many people in both sides of the family that got married at 17, 18. And I know people that have had similar experiences, but I really want to press and say, save as much money as you can. I did not think about it, and I should have. I was spending my money instead of saving. Don't pressure people to have a huge wedding if they don't want one. And also, if you're going to have a wedding, don't go too crazy. And I'm saying that because your wedding day, even though it's a special once in a lifetime, hopefully once in a lifetime event, there are so many other experiences that you're going to have when you're married that money would make more sense to use towards. For an example, me living for a year and a half in my parents' basement after I got married, if instead of that $7,000 to $8,000 used towards my wedding, if some of that, not even all of it, just a small portion was maybe given so we could have an apartment, and then it would make me a little more responsible that this is my place now. I can't depend on my parents after I get that initial boost. I think that would have helped me a lot, while I also needed to mature and grow. But I think getting married young also helped me grow. And in talking to my husband about planning out this video, he even reiterated that it was our wedding and that things should have been done more the way we wanted to, the way I was expressing that I wanted it. And it was not respected. Instead, I was told to respect the wishes of my parents. That was hard because I wanted to respect them, and I had up until that point, but it was very difficult for me to break away from that and say, hey, this is the start of my new life and I want it done in the way that seems best for me. But I'm thankful that that was 21 years ago now. Plus with the planning, because a wedding is actually a goodbye to your family. Now I am going to have my own family. That transition was very important to a young woman's life. I mean, there's that verse in the Bible that even says that when a man gets married, he's to leave his family, he's to leave his house. But yes, I was irresponsible with money at the time. So there is my own fault, my own problem, my own issue. I should have thought about it, but I didn't. And that's on me. Back to the planning of the wedding. The rehearsal dinner. My parents told me that my in-laws were supposed to provide for a rehearsal dinner. And I was like, oh, is that really the case? There were at least 13 people, 14 people that I could think of that were at that dinner. So 14 people, you figure each plate might have been like $18. So it might have only cost them a little over $300, but still, for all I know, it was $500 to $1,000. And that was a lot, I believe, for what they could afford. So I don't think that there's good communication. So if you plan a wedding, please have proper communication and make sure that there are no tensions. My head was spinning. I was so confused about what was supposed to be, what was going on, and I felt like I couldn't have my own opinion. In 2004, the average cost for a rehearsal dinner was $2,700. So if you're a minimalist and you're thinking about planning your wedding, please learn from my mistakes. Try to do a better job. So there are a lot of non-traditional things I did at my wedding, and I wanted to be a little unique. And now I actually smile a bit about some of the things I did, and I go, good job, that was nice. I liked that. So first, I'm just gonna say I had no wedding party. We were standing there together alone with my uncle who married us, who is a pastor. So because I was only 17, 18 when I got engaged, when I was planning who I was going to have in my wedding party, I had some people in mind, but they were also young. And I emailed them, and I was going on what we call David's bridal, which is like a little less expensive for bridal wear. And so I gave options for the colors and the type of dress. And everyone came back to me saying, ew, that's ugly. I don't like this. I don't like that. And everyone was telling me their opinions. And I said, well, okay, well, most of you wanted this, so we're gonna do this. And then people said, I'm not wearing that. Well, it's my wedding, please wear it. Oh, I don't like that color. So no one could agree. And I was not trying to put just, this is the color you're gonna wear. It was an option. I felt again at a loss. And the dresses were going to be $75 each, and I told them the cost, and they said, well, I don't have that money. Okay, well, this is the cheapest I could find. And then there's also shoes, and they're just like complaining. And I know they were young and I was young, and so I decided, forget it. I'm not having anyone in my wedding party. It was more peaceful that way. And I'm happy I did that, because thinking about my wedding party, there are only a few or a couple people that I still am very close to that would have been in my wedding party, and the other people not so much. We didn't even plan Rob's wedding party situation. He didn't even know who he would have in his wedding party. He was struggling, and he was going to have a lot less than I had. We were just like, yeah, that won't work. Someone that we know was just starting to get into photography. I didn't pay my photographer. They didn't offer a price. And they were just starting. To be honest, it was very kind of him. He gave me all the prints, and he said it was his wedding present to us. And there weren't loads of pictures, but there were a lot where our faces weren't even showing. Several photos, you can't see either of our faces. So we just looked like a bunch of hairy hippies. But wedding photography, I feel, is something that I definitely could have put money towards. I feel horrible. Bill, I'm so sorry. I could pay you if you want 21 years later. But we did put disposable cameras on every table. So we got lots of people taking photos and just of us. And so we got some nice pictures, and it was a fun way to do it. It was very cheap. And then we just paid for the prints. That was a time where people still used film. Transition to digital cameras was just beginning. Wedding photographers usually cost between $3,000 and $5,000. In New Jersey, the cost is $8,000. In 2004, my dress. I actually liked my dress. It was simple. I would probably do just a vintage like 60s dress now if I could go back. It was actually my prom dress first. We didn't go to Rob's prom, but we went to my prom, and I bought this dress on Delia's that was 75% off. It cost me like $50, I believe. So I wore it twice, but my mother-in-law, she actually took off these fluffy flowers that are very itchy on my like armpits. She took those off and she put a satin band. It was beautiful. And then I asked her if she could put a corset back. Now, she did a lot of sewing for dresses and different things like that, so I knew she could do it. She said, I don't know if I could do it, but she did, and it was beautiful, and it fit me perfectly. I did my own hair and makeup. I mean, my hair is just always kind of down. I put it up once in a while. So I want to get married in a way with a hairstyle that is me. And I hardly wore makeup. I wore some lip gloss and some eyeliner. So yeah, I just looked like a pale bride. But I did get my nails done, which was the second time. I got my nails done for my prom, and then I got my nails done for my wedding. I think it was like $75. I did straighten my hair, which now I don't straighten my hair. I have wavy hair, but it was very straight when I got married. As for shoes, I was barefoot. I saved lots of money of that. And I know that's weird to people. I thought, I was on holy ground. And I even said, I'm going to be barefoot when I give birth. I was barefoot when I was born, and I wanted my special occasions to have me barefoot. So I am taller than my husband, and people thought that was the reason why I went barefoot, and it isn't. I wear heels around him. But Rob, he rented his tux. We're not sure how much it cost. I think it was between $250 and $450, but we don't remember. I thought it was very handsome. And he wore Doc Martens, which cost him $120. He wore them many, many times after we got married, so he put some good wear and tear in them. For music, we just played a CD, and I know that's weird. I actually walked down the aisle to the Wedding March by Queen from the Flash Gordon movie, which I grew up on, and Rob, Queen is his favorite band. So it just made sense. My mom had her best friend, who is my godmother. She's no longer with us, and she sang a beautiful song. And I thought, that was very sweet. She's like, you should have music. I'll have my friend sing. I was like, all right, if she wants to. But then she had her other friend who does like a comedy singing act, but it didn't cost anything. We did not have a DJ. We just played some Celtic music. I made I think, a CD, and then my godfather played it on the PA system. So we didn't have a DJ, we didn't have a band. Granted, I also was not allowed to have dancing at my wedding. I wanted to have some sort of dancing. My great uncle and my great aunt didn't believe in dancing. They believed it was a sin, and they wouldn't go to my wedding if I had dancing, but they were like grandparents to me, more so than my own grandparents. So I wanted them there. So I said, okay, we're not gonna have dancing. The sacrifices I decided to make because I loved people, when really they should have been like, we'll go because we love you. If I could go back, I'd get a band to play the whole time. But the Celtic music was lovely. DJs cost up to $5,000, while live bands are about $2,000. But some of them are a little bit more. Invitations, I actually got a really, really good deal because my brothers and my uncle worked for an invitation making company at the time. And they're really pretty invitations. I remember really enjoying setting up, but I don't remember how much that cost. It didn't cost much. I know that much. I had a huge deal. For decorations, I didn't really do decorations. I mean, white tablecloths. I bought a cake topper that I said, this would be good, I guess, for the cake. I don't even know how much the cost was of the cake. And my mom's one friend did the center pieces for all of the tables. And she's a very crafty person. I used to grow up doing crafts with her. For my bouquet, my brother's friend actually made me a bouquet out of stuff that she got from the craft store. It was very lovely. Some decorations cost between paying per hour of $150, but others just give a rate of between $2,000 and $10,000. And that's insane to me. So I saved a lot of money. I did have catered food, and that's what the main cost of the wedding was. I asked my mom just yesterday, how much was it for the catering? She's like, I don't know. So I was thinking it has to be about $6,000, $5,000 that was spent. To cater weddings, it usually costs up to $15,000 alone, which is about $90 per person for some of the studies that I looked into. And we had like 100 people, so you figure about $5,000 for 100 people. We got married in a church. Originally, I had made the idea to my mom, you know, there's this cute little church that I've always really liked. I went to one wedding there when I was 6 years old, and I thought it was very lovely. Apparently you had to be a member to have a wedding there in the time that I got married. But when I was a teenager, I kept saying how I wanted to get married outside in a gazebo and have just a simple wedding. As odd it might sound, I would have liked to get married outside, picnic style, while we stand up and get married. And I love those barn weddings, very, very cute, but some of those cost $6,000 to $12,000. But I had such a beautiful day on my wedding, but I know that rain could become a factor. It cost about $200, $250, something like that to rent the church that I got married in. It wasn't the prettiest place, but it was a place where I could get married. And it was the church that I was attending. We were originally to be taken to the wedding in a vintage car from the 50s. Someone offered that they would do that, and I thought that was lovely, but it broke down on the way to get me. We ended up renting a car so we could have it for our few days of our honeymoon. And that's because my car was a really rundown 80s car, and it broke down a lot. And my husband had two cars. One was a rundown 60s car and one was an okay 70s car, but it wasn't something that we felt confident in for going on a trip. I feel like if you're going to spend money, do it not on the celebration, but on the honeymoon. If I could go back, I would have planned my honeymoon so much better. Of course, Rob and I should have planned that and saved for the couple years that we could. And I laugh at myself looking back at some of the things that went on in planning our honeymoon, because when I plan trips now, it's so much better than what we did back then. It was very spontaneous. And even though I screwed up a lot back then, I married the man that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And that's what's important. Our honeymoon, though, it was also strange. We spent our wedding night at a hotel at an anime convention that we went to the following day. Right after we got married, we went back to my parents' house, opened up all our cards, read them, collected the money, which was about $1,300, I believe. But I spent $150 previously on the suite. So that I planned ahead of time. I got that maybe 2 months before, might have been 4 months before, because I knew there was the convention that was going to be there and it was going to run out. But then after the anime convention, we camped out a night in a tent that my uncle gifted us for our wedding present in my parents' backyard, a very big yard. There's a river in the back and it was very lovely. It was actually very fun. That was a highlight. It was such a lovely night too. We didn't know what to do for like a few days. So the woman that did my crafty stuff for the centerpieces, she said, oh, my husband and I go to this place in the Poconos. We really love it. You should go there. Not realizing it was a place for older people, not so much fun for just married people. Everything closed at 4 p.m. in the area, and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go. We had dinner at a little 50s diner, which was nice, and it's no longer there. When we went to the pool to swim, there were these kids swimming in the pool, and it was supposed to be only the people that were paying for the place. So that wasn't so fun as a newlywed couple to have kids around when we're trying to be all sexy for each other. It was a nice place, but there wasn't anything to do, honestly. We did find some stuff to do, like we went to Bushkill Falls. And it was a very lovely place, very nice. It was probably the best part of our whole honeymoon. It was a long walk, and it was just gorgeous. We had a bunch of rainy days. I had suggested maybe we go to the Native American Museum, which we went to, and then I wanted to maybe ride horses. My husband had never been on a horse, but because of the rain, we decided not to do that. So I was trying to figure out things in the area that we could do, and just, it didn't happen. So after the places we could find, we just went home early, but we could have done something better. And now that I've traveled a lot more, the idea that we were only out for like 5 days, not something that I would have done if I could go back. The place we were staying at, it was, I believe, $450 for a few nights, but we made really nice memories together, and that's what counts. Honeymoons, though, they typically cost about $6,000 per person, and it was about $3,400 per person in 2004 when we got married. Rob and I, we actually hope to have maybe a renewal of our vows. We've always talked about renewing our vows because there were just some things we just didn't have the wedding that we envisioned. So maybe at 25 years, but that's only 4 years away, maybe 30 years or 40. I don't really know what we're going to decide to do. But if we do, it will be hopefully something very simple. Maybe we'll do that picnic style. Maybe we'll just be taking our children and maybe future grandchildren out to a nice place. Maybe we'll have a potluck dinner, because that would be so much fun. I love potluck dinners. Everyone brings a dish. That would save me money too. And I love trying people's food. Maybe we would just have a handful of people over and have a small dinner. Whatever we do, I'd probably keep things very simple, and I'm sure it will be lovely. Overall, even though things were a little weird for our wedding, I am so thankful that I got married, and I love my husband, and I love what we have made for our relationship, and I cherish the home that we have made together and the family that we have. I wouldn't choose a better person that complements me in my life. It just is so meaningful, the kindest person, the most humble, selfless person. I really made a good choice, and I still find him to be cute, and we're very romantic still, which is very nice to think that in a way we're kind of in our honeymoon stage still all these years later. Whatever you choose to do for your wedding, just try your best to stay committed to that person and to have communication and to show one another love, forgiveness, and respect. I'd love to hear what your wedding was like. Maybe it was completely different. And if you're a minimalist, I would love to hear how you have planned your wedding, or if you've already had a wedding, what that was like, because that is so cool to think of a minimalist couple and their wedding. Well, thanks guys, and have a wonderful day. Go get married. Bye.